welcome to the 79th Eden Fractal meeting. I'm here with good friends Tadas, Rosmari, Vlad, and Eric, and we have another exciting game for you today that we're sharing. Hope that everybody's having a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Thanks to everybody for being here. I'm going to share a quick presentation as always. Thanks, Rosmari, for the confetti cannon as always. Feel free to jump in if you want to say hello or anything like that, but otherwise I'll just jump in straight to this presentation so we can get right into the events of, or the games of the event. So of course, welcome. Everybody can learn about Eden Fractal at edenfractal.com. We're doing all sorts of exciting stuff. If you go to the homepage, you can learn about the innovative game shows and tools that we've been creating for the past year and a half now. We're especially innovating with lots of exciting new games this week too. And we're producing videos every week, and we're also building tools and using tools that help people create abundance. So you can learn more at edenfractal.com. Join our Telegram group at t.me/edenfractal, where you can see Rosemary's weekly messages, and you can join our events at lu.ma/edenfractal as well. And then, of course, you can also watch our videos too. So we post videos on edenfractal.com/videos. My slides are a bit out of order, so apologies for any visual confusion. But yeah, you could watch all our episodes on the edenfractal.com/videos. And in the past 3 weeks now, we've been looking at Eden Fractal's vision. So we published 2 weeks ago video, EF77 Fractal Future, about how communities can establish a common vision. And we debuted a new type of respect game to chart the course of Eden Fractal and help enable communities to see together. You can watch this on the YouTube channel as well for Eden creators, as well as all the other interesting and exciting shows we're making, like creating no agenda games and game makers, and the idea of Eden Fractal season, constant wins, and respect games, and fractal sports, and much more. And as I said before, these are also on the Eden Creators YouTube channel, where we can also see the content that the Optimistics have been creating in the Optimism Fractal, as well as much more exciting shows like Fractal Apple and Eden Town Halls and Creator Talk and Community Stories and so forth. As I said before, we invite you to join every week at 16 UTC on Wednesdays and invite your friends, and you can find that at lu.ma/edenfractal. And yeah, so basically we're going to go into the game, but first I'm just going to give a couple logistical notes. One, in case anybody hasn't seen the past couple of episodes, we are doing a bit of a different format now for Eden Fractal. So our meetings last 1 hour instead of 2 hours. They happen from 16 to 17 UTC on Wednesdays. And also, rather than playing the traditional respect game and ranking contributions every week, we are now playing new variants of the respect game, and we're basically playing agendas, where anybody can make a topic proposal on Consortium, the voting application, and then we will play whatever game or discuss whatever topic gets discussed there. And this week, Tadas made a proposal for an upvote game for the vision, which we'll get to in a moment. And if anybody still wants to play the traditional respect game, for one thing, you're welcome to just propose it on Consortium, and we could play the respect game to respect contributions. But then also, you're welcome to join Optimystics Fractal meetings every Monday at 17 UTC. These meetings have been going really great and lots of fun. We're introducing a lot of people to these respect games and fractal processes, so encourage you to join and invite friends as well. And you can learn more about these at optimismfractal.com. We also have a Twitter account, Optimistics_, where you can see some updates, where you can learn more, and a Discord channel too. Feel free to reach out with any questions. And then one other note too, logistically, is that we're planning to take, I believe, a 2-week break. We're not sure exactly for how long we're going to take it yet, but we're planning to take a break. I think on the 20th, there will be the last Eden Fractal date, and then we'll take at least 2 weeks off. And so we'll discuss that more and share more dates later. But basically, there'll be this week's meeting and then 2 more weeks before we take the winter break. And with that, we'll get into the agendas game. So as I said before, everybody can vote on Consortium to help set the agenda and set the topics for the games. There's links where you can learn more about these at edencreators.com/agendas. Past couple weeks we've been playing these vision games, and as you can see the proposal that I made from a couple weeks here ago, and the video as I showed before. Last week, Tadas made a proposal for a respect game and an upvote game, and we have been refining our vision all along. Last week we voted Rosemary's vision at the top, and we didn't get to do the upvote game that Tadas proposed. So Tadas proposed again to play the upvote game to select a vision and to further refine it and simply work on Rosemary's vision like we talked about at the end of last week's meeting. And so you can check out Consortium. That is the topic that has the most votes right now. And you can check out the document that Tadas shared to see how this game works. So this first page is the Idea Respect game that we played last week. So you can all review this to see how we played last week, and we can do this kind of game more in the future as well. But the game that we're going to play today is the Idea Upvote game. And as Tadas wrote here, purpose is to basically synthesize of different perspectives and reach consensus. So we have the predetermined question about what is the vision of Eden Fractal, and we're going to work together to reach consensus on a single answer to the question, and at least 2/3 2/3 of the group has to signal an agreement with a chosen answer for the game to be considered successful. Tadas also shared some tips here as well. If Tadas, you want to jump in and share any more information or any more details about this game, then please feel free. But otherwise, everybody can read it on the screen as well to see the full rules for the Upvote game. And a bit more details about this too. We've been keeping track of our vision game over the past couple weeks, and basically organizing everybody's vision in a Notion document. So you can see we have a table of contents here where you can see the winning visions from week 78 and week 77, as well as the most recent visions that everybody shared as well. I'll share this in the Zoom chat, and it's already in t.me/Eden Fractal. So you can see the winning vision from week 78 from Rosmari was, our vision is to teach fractal communities through the valuable, careful, and efficient production of research and tools. Our vision is to maximize the productivity of social organizations around the world through efficient decision-making. You can also see Tadas's winning vision from week 77 here, which is a little bit longer, and everybody can read it on the screen. And of course, you can review it on the Notion page. You can review my vision here. I don't know if I'll read them all out loud, but I think mine was ranked the second highest here. And so maybe I'll just show it on the screen. Everybody can read it here. You can read Eric's vision, Tadas's vision, Vlad's vision, and then there's also more that you can read below. So those are the visions that are on. And then also after last week's meeting, Eric also shared a cut of his based on Rosmari's draft. So thank you very much, Eric, for sharing that. I encourage everybody to look at these resources, and I will add this to the Notion page as well. And then one last note on this too is that we talked a lot about the vision at Eden Fractal. We have an article at edencares.com/vision, where you can learn. Mostly back in week 38 of Eden Fractal, we had a big discussion with about 16 or 17 people about the vision of Eden Fractal. And so we produced a video as well as an article that's still kind of a work in progress, but you can learn a lot more about what we've been thinking about for the vision of Eden Fractal for a long time, along with timestamps and lots of notes and so forth. And you can also watch the full video from week 38, as well as the full video from week 78 and from 77, and soon to come this meeting 79, to learn more about Eden Fractal's mission, or vision rather. So that's it. Hope that everybody has enjoyed the presentation, and we can get started now. Tadas, feel free to jump in if there's anything you think that I missed or that you wanted to just emphasize or further elaborate with the Vision Upvote game that you shared there. Otherwise, if anybody wants to kick us off and share, well, I suppose, what is the best way to start with it? The best way to start is just like decide on a way to reach consensus. First, we decide to start with Rosmari's vision rather, and then take it from there. Anybody have any thoughts about the best way to proceed?
I think we could. I saw Eric suggested one version of a vision in the chat based on Rosmari's. We could just start by this. Yeah, Eric, you're muted.
Yeah, I just took Rosmari's and then tried to look for what Dan's and everybody else's did and tweak it based on the good stuff from the others. So I use Rosmari's as a base.
Yeah, but first maybe it would be useful to discuss some things that I think it's useful to understand, and I know, Eric, you might have the answers. So for example, in your vision, in this vision that you shared, do you see it as just a vision or vision and mission?
I guess it'd be kind of both, because it says how that's possible. Yeah. But one thing I did is I just said, what questions do I have? The first question that I had when I looked at Rosmari's is, it talked about social organizations, and I said, well, what's that mean? Does that mean what? Who are we helping when we say social? So I just tried to expand that a bit. I'm not saying my answer was right, but that was the first thing when I looked at Rosmari's, was said, what does that mean? We should be clear on what, if we're supporting social organizations, what does that mean? And then the other part is, then she talked about, which was good, but she talked about efficient or careful, valuable, careful, and efficient production of research and tools. So I tried to clarify that a little bit, although that's pretty good by itself. But it just said teach fractal communities through the valuable, careful, efficient production of research and tools. So I like that phrase a lot. But I think maybe we could make that a little clearer, but it's probably pretty good as it is also. But I tried to clarify that a little bit. And then I think the other question I had when I looked at that is, what do we mean by productivity? Maximize productivity. I mean, I like that statement a lot, but what does maximize productivity mean? Because productivity means a lot of things. And then I looked at the word efficient decision-making. Is it just efficient? Or are we trying to make better decisions? So it's just efficient, or is it better? So those were kind of the three things I looked at. And to get those, I looked at everybody else's proposal. Said, well, did any of those proposals answer those things? And I just tried to cut and paste. But those are the three things. What is a social organization? Are we just teaching fractals? Or it's because it kind of implied there, teach fractals through valuable, careful, and efficient production of research. So it does say we do research and tools, but I tried to clarify that a little bit. And then I tried to look at this idea of what is the maximum, what is productivity, and then what do we mean by efficient decision making? So those were the three questions that I had. Was, are we just teaching? What is a social organization? Are we just teaching, or does it involve research? It's in there, I think, and she did a really good job. But I was just trying to look at, poke holes in anything that, what I tried to do is pretend that I didn't know anything. I've never heard of a fractal, and read that and say what goes in my mind and say, how can we clarify that? So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's better to not use word fractal communities, and clarify, either maybe use just communities, or like you listed governance, businesses, non-profits.
Yeah. That's why I didn't say fractal communities. What is that? I'm not saying it's bad, but when you put on what I call I pretend I have a hat called the curse of knowledge blocker. So I just practice pretending that I don't know anything. And I've done that over a lot of years, and it's really hard to keep from what you know. So when I read everything, I'm going, teach fractal communities. What's a fractal community? Through valuable, careful, and efficient production. Okay, efficient, that's kind of a good word, but what is that? Our vision is to maximize productivity. Well, what do you mean? Productivity of social organizations. What's a social organization? Around the world through efficient decision-making. What does efficient decision-making mean?
I see that in your example, you have social organizations too.
Yeah, I put that in there because it was Dan and several people put that in there, so I thought we believed it was important, but I didn't know what it meant. Again, I thought yours was really great. I voted for it last time. I just tried to read it as if I never knew anything, and just.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Eric, for explaining and working on that refinement to Rosemary's vision. Also, the question just came up, what is a social organization? And Vlad just left a comment in the chat. So if you wanted to go ahead and go into more detail about that, Vlad, that'd be appreciated. If you have any thoughts on your mind, we'd be glad to hear from you.
No, I just think it's fairly, I mean, it's not straightforward what is a social organization, but I think it's a term that is widely used. So I'm not sure that in a vision we should like list all the social organization types.
Well, I just tried to read that as if I was just not knowing anything, and so when I put on my curse of knowledge hat, I don't know what a social organization is. So the word doesn't have meaning for me as just somebody who doesn't know anything.
What about communities? Well,
okay, community's great. So we're not going to help businesses or nonprofits, right?
yeah, man, that's.
Well,
I think our tools would fit businesses maybe too. So I don't know if we want to cope it that way.
I definitely want to help businesses and governments eventually.
Yeah, sure.
I really want, looking at our politics right now in the United States, I really want to help governments. I'm worried about our government completely imploding. I want us to be ready to step in. For starting when California secedes from the Union.
So I agree that we want to help governments and businesses and nonprofits for sure. And social organization, I think it makes sense to people. But I can also see how it could be a little bit.
It doesn't. I don't know what a social organization is.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's kind of intuitive, like just a social organization. I mean, I think most people can make sense of it, but I'm also like I use the word community a lot, and I really like the word community because it's quite simple, and like I think everybody knows what a community is, and I'm not sure. Like to me, it seems that it's all communities all the way down, so to speak. Like a government or a business or a nonprofit, those are all forms of communities that are just using like at different levels, basically. So perhaps it could just be all communities, and that's why and that's why I didn't mind just keep it simple with communities. But then again, I see what you're saying. Maybe some people might think, oh well, if you just said communities, maybe they don't think that includes businesses or governments as well.
I wouldn't. Not with my hat on that I don't know you guys. So we talk about this all the time. So we have certain feelings and perceptions about that. But if you take our experience away, to me, a community is just like the Rotary Club. You mean like the Rotary Club? Is it social organization? Is that what you're talking about? That so it's just unclear. And my view is don't make your audience have to work hard to figure out what you mean. Make it clear.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. I see Vlad also wrote some comments about productivity in the Zoom chat too that I'll also add here. If anyone wants to add this directly to the Notion page, of course, then feel free to add. And of course, just feel free to jump in too, Vlad, if you want to speak more about productivity or anybody else, of course, or I can also respond to some of my thoughts about what Eric shared there.
No, again, productivity is also, it is not so straightforward. I agree. But productivity is, I think it's good to include that word in the vision, and we are not just increasing productivity by any means. I think it's exactly by introducing some kind of governance systems through which the productivity increases.
All right, thank you. I see Rosmari putting out a heart here too. Very interesting. So I'll share some comments. I suppose I'll go ahead. I think that I really like the word communities, and I see what Eric shared about how communities might not be so intuitive to people. We also had some issue with the word social organizations, so maybe we could just change social organizations to communities. And personally, I think that communities should be first because that's where it starts, as opposed to governments. Like governments kind of comes last, and if you're thinking of government as like this very large thing, and I think in general, that's probably a better way for us to grow than focusing too much on governments. Like I don't know. I think governments need to be fixed. I totally agree with that. But I think starting out with that and like the first 5 words of the vision, it's kind of getting like too big, too fast. And where in order to have a successful, strong government and a government that serves people, you need to have communities that are strong and self-sufficient on their own. And that's the way that the fractal process kind of works. That's what's identified in work with animals, that you have to have local communities working together in like a fractal pattern to be self-sufficient on their own to form a larger government. So I would suggest that maybe we can remove the word social organizations and make that simpler and change it with communities, and then maybe just change around the order there in terms of size. So it's like Eden Fractal believes that communities, businesses, nonprofits, and governments of all sizes should have the tools and methods available for the best decision-making at all levels. I really like that Eric added fun in here and easy and fair, because I think that fun is really important, and that's something that I didn't love about Rosemary's vision or original vision, even though she's given the heart, and I really love Rosemary's vision in general. But it had a lot about efficiency and maximizing the productivity, which is great. That's really great. And I like like Vlad's definition of productivity here, and I think that's an excellent thing to strive for. But at the same time, I think that like it's really important that people are enjoying it while they're doing it, because that helps people succeed as much as possible with this new governance process as well. So and also it's not just about improving productivity, but it's like it's about both the journey and the destination to some extent. So having an enjoyable time that people are having fun while they're doing, I think, is important, and also making it easy and fair is really important too. So those are some thoughts there. And then regarding Eric's questions about just teaching fractals, so my thinking, this was another little issue I had with Rosemary's vision last time, is I think teaching is more in the mission, probably. Like I think the vision, as Eric has said many times before, like the vision is where you're going and the mission is how you get there. And so like the mission is the verb, it's what you're doing to get there, whereas the vision is like the destination, is the place. And so I like how Eric is kind of outlining like where we're going, like in terms of all these communities or governments or businesses are having these tools and methods to make better decision making, and to well, I see Eric also does this as well. So I'm not sure, maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but Eric is also saying by developing, testing, and teaching well thought out governance tools and methods to organizations. And that's another emphasis on governments. So I know Vlad also had a big emphasis on governance too. So maybe I'm just in the minority there as far as like where we should emphasize governance. But I think that as far as the point that I was just making there, like I think it's more than just teaching. I think it's also like creating and like teaching the people how to use it and building the tools how to use it, and so forth. So that's kind of a lot of thoughts there. Feel free to jump in at any of those points, kind of just in like a brainstorming stage here.
Yeah, so regarding vision versus mission, like I mentioned, like we talked in the beginning, I think Eric's as well as Rosemary's are both the vision and the mission. And I think we can do that. Like have one sentence for a vision and then a mission that clarifies how we are getting there. So
yeah, that's why I changed the order of Rosemary's. I put she had like mission, vision in hers, and I just changed it so it was vision, mission.
Yes. So then if we agree that we do it this way, that we have like in the same paragraph, like vision and then clarify with the mission, maybe it's okay.
Okay, that works for me. I mean, it might just be clear to make it just like, say, if we were to just like separate it into 2 different paragraphs too, or like 2 different sections with 2 different headers, that might make it clear to people. But then again, it might just be nitpicking, and I'm happy to have both. And I hadn't even really thought about that stuff until Eric brought it up back in like 6 months ago. So
yeah, it's pretty easy just to hit return, say vision, mission. So I don't think it matters. I think one sentence is, I think if we have a 1 sentence vision, a 1 sentence mission, that's pretty good. Put them together, I don't think it matters, because you can always just use one or the other together.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's say we have a web page and we want to present our vision and mission. So how we are going to do that? Will the header say vision and mission, or vision and then our vision and then our mission?
Yeah, I think if you're doing on a web page, you could do that. Vision, first sentence, mission, second sentence. But I think it's okay if you're communicating, tell me about Eden Fractal. If we put it in one paragraph, since it's 2 sentences, you could do it that way. I think it depends where you're using it.
Yeah. But I think for this, maybe it would be good to separate it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So maybe
all right, maybe I'll just do that here on the screen. Just and this is Eric's original proposal. Just for simplicity here, I'll just put vision and mission just to make it simple here, and kind of because we're all crafting it together now.
And if you wanted to talk about communities, you could put believes that communities, including governments, businesses, nonprofits, whatever. If you want to focus on communities and then make it clear what that is, you know, believes that community. So if you didn't like, or that it said believes that governments, businesses, nonprofits, social organization, you could just say communities, including governments, businesses, and nonprofits. If that helps.
That could work. I was also just working on a draft over here to that copy and paste. The way I did it was just changing the order, and I also removed nonprofits because I'm not sure if nonprofits is like necessary. Generally, when I do commas, for whatever reason, I try to keep it like 3 because I think it might help the sentence flow better. So I'm not sure if nonprofits needs to be there because nonprofit, like, it's a type of community basically, or it's also a type of government business. But I don't know. I can also see emphasizing nonprofits, but like the way I started to rewrite it was just communities, businesses, and governments of all sizes. But also, I'd be happy to change it to Eden Fractal believes that communities, including businesses, government, and nonprofits of all sizes, should have the tools and methods available to make the best decision making possible.
I don't know if a lot of people would call governments communities. I think maybe for the organization, maybe most general encompasses everything.
I think of it as organizations. That's the overall bubble that I use in my mind.
Yeah,
As
so
an organization is any group together that puts some kind of structure in getting something done. So an organization could be a business, a nonprofit, a government, a club.
Yeah, and I think communities are also, if they are organized community, it's an organization of people. So
I see Rosmari just add communities and organizations. That might work because I think most people, even if they don't identify governments or businesses as communities, then they almost certainly, I think, would identify it as an organization. So if we were to say Eden Fractal believes that communities and organizations of all sizes should have the tools available and so forth. Was everything about that?
I like it. Maybe then we don't need to list businesses, governments, and so on.
Yeah. No,
Cool.
I think
Like
if
that
you
too.
say organizations, communities, I think that works.
Yeah, I agree because that makes it simple to read.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's the same thing. Community and organization.
Okay, we're reaching consensus. Yeah.
I mean, I would choose one. And
Oh, okay.
I would prefer organization, and more specifically social organization.
Well, what would be non-social organization?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking right now. And yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
thinking
people think of social or social.
yeah, that's 90%. I was thinking about maybe some
Well,
other
is a business-based social organization?
business. Yes, definitely.
I think if people are involved, it's social. No.
And I was thinking
But is
maybe
a business a social organization?
what thing? What is a social organization?
I don't know.
Says-
I assume in my mind it's an organization whose mission is to make society better.
Hmm.
So social organization focuses on people over profits. But that opens for me a whole can of worms.
Yeah, I think we don't need to add social organization. I think it's even clearer than social organization.
Mhm.
I think
Maybe.
I think that by saying communities and organizations, like the including the word communities there, makes it clear that makes it more clear that organizations is a social organization. But it does so in a way that it can be more clear than using the word social organizations. And it also kind of is more like, one thing I like about giving the word communities is it makes it like less official, like say like a community of friends, like we want just communities of friends, or like it's like a village of people who are living together, to also like be able to thrive with these processes as well. And if it's organizations, then they might not think that like encompasses them.
But well, here's
organizations.
the thing. So let's say a community doesn't have an organization, it's just a bunch of people together. We can go in and help that. We can give them some structure, even temporarily, if we're talking, you know, sheer definition, so they don't have to be an organization for us to help them.
That's true. Yeah, well, we're
But-
giving the organization to some extent, or the organizational structure.
But I would say, where would we focus first? I would focus on organization, because people already have a structure. So I think long-term, communities and organizations is really good. Short-term, I think it's organizations, but for me, even if you say communities and organizations, so there's kind of a difference between what is grammatically correct and what people think.
Mhm.
You know, it's like Steve Jobs says, you know, their vision was to think different when it should be think differently. You know, it's not grammatically correct, but people get. So I think it's more important to communicate rather than be precise. But you have to communicate with it. So I think if I were to pick just one, I would say organization covers things. I like that better than communities, but I'm fine with communities and organizations, because it implies people who have structure and people who don't. I mean, an organization has a structure. Community may or may not have a structure. That's how I see the difference.
By default, as I see it, even if community doesn't have the structure on paper, there is hidden structure in any case.
And but I'm saying, for what we do, we can help them, because we could say, here's a structure that you can just use. Here it is. Here it is. We'll give you a structure. So I mean, overall, I think we can really help communities in the long run. But it's harder because they don't have it's harder for us to start with communities because they don't have a structure. So we would have to gather them and provide that to them. So we would have to essentially, or we would have to help organize a community, even if it's just for a time. But it'd sure be bad. You know, you imagine when communities start fighting about things, happens all the time, even without structure. And we can really help there.
Yes, and regarding what Vlad said, yeah, I agree. There is implicit structure, like sometimes there is a leader which like everyone follows, even though nobody agreed to that. But yeah, and so to your point, I agree that organization technically encompasses communities and all kinds of other organizations. But like Eric said, for the sake of communicating that, and like Dan said, for the sake of communicating that what we are creating is applicable to people who are not trying to create a structured organization, to make it clear that it's applicable to communities which don't see themselves as organizations. That's for this reason I would include community.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so a logistical note here too, where we're at. So there's 12 minutes top of the hour. We've been saying that these meetings will be 1 hour long. And so normally we'd wrap it up in 12 minutes, but also we started because we were kind of like hanging out and talking a bit. So we started the actual recording about 15 minutes later. So I'm wondering, and we've so far just mostly come to consensus about the first couple, like the first 6 words or first 7 words. So I'm wondering, what should we be aiming to achieve here? Should we aiming to achieve should we aiming to wrap it up in the next 10 minutes, or is everybody cool to
Yeah,
hang out for another 20 minutes, or should we try to speed up and get consensus about a vision right now with the rest of it, or should we save it for another week too if we can't get to more of it? I'm curious. Is something you want to add here?
I have an appointment right at 9,
Okay.
so I'm gonna have to leave, but I'm excited about the progress.
Me too.
I mean, I'm really excited. I think Rosemary's vision last week was great. If that's all we did and we went with that, I think that would have been a major improvement of anything we've done in the past. I think what we've done today, where everybody's put in theirs and we're just kind of clarifying, I think that's huge. I've worked with organizations who haven't made this much progress in a month. I'm serious.
So maybe today we can reach consensus on those few words. No, but
I think the fact that I think that we've reached consensus on saying we serve communities and organizations is huge.
Exactly. I just want to confirm that because Vlad I'm not sure Vlad agrees.
No, I understand your point, yeah. That it's, even though it's not like correct, but in for the sake of communicating.
And we can change it in the future. So this is just, where do we want to start? We're coming up with a start. As we bring people in, we can get more feedback. We can, a lot of this is about testing and see if what we think this means is what other people think it means. So you do that just by sharing it with other people, getting their feedback on what they think it means. So to me, this is just a starting point. But I think the idea of communities and organizations is great. I think the idea, okay, we've got a separate vision and mission is great. I think that's huge progress.
Well, sounds great. I agree. I'm very enjoying the process as well. And then also, I'm gonna mention something Rosemary added in a moment. But one thing that just popped in my mind too is when you look at like the etymology of the words too, like community, I think it's related. I know people have said the word communication several times too here. So I think in some sense, like community might be any group that communicates. So I don't know if that's true, but that's something that also might be a helpful thing to consider. I'm gonna, I suppose, share the screen again. I wanted to just change up the camera angles a little bit because we're having fun and joking around and stuff and enjoying the progress. But I know Rosemary also just added another part here too, where she'd written in the chat a little bit while communities of all sizes. So I don't know if you want to explain this, Rosemary, or you also wrote majority agrees in the above, because Rosemary was thinking maybe just use the word communities of all sizes rather than communities organizations. I'm happy with either one, and it seems like we have mostly consensus on communities organizations. But I don't know, Rosemary, do you want to elaborate on what you're writing there at all?
Yes, I agree with the above too. That says Eden Fractal believes that communities and organizations of all sizes. That makes it, to me at least, appear more explicit to communities. In general, this also, to me, it represents communities of all sizes, but having organizations in there, it means that communities can be either small or large communities, because generally for me, organizations have larger communities. And depending on the size of the organization, of course. And then for the vision, I started thinking about how does the rest of the sentence come together with what we agreed so far to change. And that's why I put communities of all sizes, but of course it can be communities and organizations of all sizes. I put Eden Fractal believes that it's basically the same. I'm not gonna read it out. I only changed the I added structure here, where it says the structure and tools available. In Eric's one, it had organizations of all sizes should have the tools and methods available that makes best possible decision making. And I changed it to should have the structure and tools available that makes the best possible decision making. Because, and that's on the back of Eric's comment about that we're giving structure to communities. And so I decided to put structure in there.
Structure is a very charged word because you talk about, I mean, a holacracy is a structure, top down is a structure. So when you structure a community or organization, it's a very detailed a process. So having helped businesses create their structure, that's a big thing. When you talk about messing with their structure as opposed to creating tools that they can implement within their structure.
Okay, but I think we have to put structure in there. Since it's such
okay,
a big
but I don't know what that means then when you said have the structure. Are we then advising them on how to organize themselves?
In a way, we do that, don't we?
Are we going to tell them whether they should be a top-down organization, a holacracy, a sociocracy, something within there? Are we talking about how they do their management from?
I think straight away they would realize that this is about their structure.
I think if we go tell people we are going to mess with their structure, their business structure, not create structures or help them implement. But if you say we are going to mess with your structure, help you change your structure, I think organizations are going to kind of immediately put up a wall and say, wait a minute, I don't know that I want messing with our structure.
It's not saying messing on the with the structure. I don't see messing
I'm saying,
here.
Here's what I imagine your words. We're not talking about what they really saying. I'm saying, here's how I believe your words may be perceived.
But it says fun, easy, and fair.
You're messing with my structure, Rosmari.
Yeah, I want to make it more easy for you.
When you kind of talked about my decision making, I was in. But as soon as you started talking about messing with my structure, I immediately put up some walls and said, all right, now we have to stop this discussion because until we cover the structure issue, I can't move on with this discussion.
But then again, I think the first step to fix a problem is to realize you have a problem. So the sooner you realize you have a structure problem and read this, then you're going to be like, okay, we found the answer.
That's true. But when I helped all these organizations with their branding, if I told them what I was going to do them, they would freak out and not talk, even though that's what they need to do.
So I don't think we should be that aggressive to say.
I'm saying you're right. They're going to have to change their structure. I'm saying if we bring that as a key point, that it's like a bug on the window. You know, you're driving and a bug hits your window. Do you look at the road or you focus on the bug? I think that's a bug. But that's just my opinion. My opinion is that's a bug that people go, oh, now I can't move on because I've got this bug on the window that I'm looking at.
I'm with Eric, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've talked to lots of businesses about their structure, and I've learned that's never where I start.
Okay.
Unless they do that.
That's a good feedback.
For businesses to be successful and change, they almost always have to restructure. But that's a sore point they don't want to talk about. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. They got to do it, but I never put their attention on there, even though that's one of the most important thing they can do is get their culture right. The second most important thing they can do is get their structure right. But if I go in talking about that, I need to be very careful because otherwise we get trapped. But I'm gonna have to go do my appointment now. But
all right. Thanks, Eric, for all the inspiration and ideas, and thanks, Rosmari, as well. That's great. I think it might be good, just for the sake of the game, if we could reach consensus real quick on a vision before the next 2 minutes. If you got to go right now, Eric, feel free. But I just
Yeah.
put together just what we have so far, and I'd be happy to just like vote on that right now, with the exception that this should be capitalized probably. Or we don't need to. We can just wrap it up now. We don't really have to come to consensus formally. But if you got to go, Eric, I just want to thank you once again, and I just want to.
I'm
wrap it up now,
I'm
we
really
said.
happy with that, and I'm also really happy with everybody's feedback. And by the way, Rosmari, I think you're right. I'm just not sure we should say it. That's all I'm saying. I think you're exactly right, but there's a difference between what people need to do and what you need to tell them, because people don't want to face the truth.
Strong words. People can't handle the truth, so to speak.
They can't handle the truth. So we want to say, here's this easy thing that we can implement piece by piece that's not going to radically change, because people go, I don't want you to change me. Oh, you want to give me something extra? We want it to seem like you just slip this thing in, which, by the way, we can do. That's where we start. We can just slip them in with, Vlad's and Tadas's tools and things like that. And they go, oh, this is easy. Can we do more? I'll just give you one example real quickly. I was selling a major organization a new product, and I sold them a button. And they hit this button and it did great. And then they came up with another problem. And I said, would you like another button? And they said, absolutely. And the price dropped. The first button was like $20,000. The second button was like $15,000. Then I sold them a $10,000 button. And then they're going, another problem. Oh, is that? But they go, why does the price of the buttons keep drawing it? Because you're reusing what you do. What I actually did was implement a no structure, but I gave it to them a button at a time. And then they spent $50K and said, oh, let's learn how to relook at the whole way we're doing business. But I'm just saying, I started by selling them a button. They didn't know that there was this infrastructure and power behind this button that was unlike anything they ever saw. But if I'd gone in and tried to say, you need this new infrastructure, I just would have got the hand. No, we don't want it. And with that, I'm going to have to go.
Great points. Thank you, Eric, very much. Enjoy your meeting. Rest of your day.
Have my vote for what you wrote down.
Okay. Sounds good. I see Tadas, you just shared something too. I suppose we can wrap up anytime now too, but I don't know, Tadas, if we should reach consensus on what we have so far, or Tadas, if you want to explain there. It looks like you made a ... instead of the ending part.
Yes. I don't know if we are going to be able to reach consensus on all of it, but yeah, I would just, maybe we can reach consensus on communities and organizations.
We could do.
I agree.
Yeah. Does the game say that we need full consensus?
Well, it says you need full consensus to have it to be successful, but I don't think it says anything about whether it's the full vision or just part of the vision. So I would say this has been successful because we've all had a good time doing it, and we made progress on at least part of the vision, and I think we've had a great discussion about it. So I'm happy to wrap it up here now and keep according to our schedule. I'm happy to go longer too if y'all want. I'm also happy with Tadas's version. So what do y'all think? Should we keep discussing or wrap it up now, or any last thoughts? Or
maybe we should discuss a little bit retro PGF.
We could. I mean, we could also do that. So we're still recording right now. This is the Eden Fractal meeting. Retro PGF reviewers. This is actually the Optimystics team who's been participating in Retro PGF and Optimism Collective, and we started Eden Fractal. So I don't know, should we do it on the recording here and let people know how the progress is going, or should we wrap up the video? Or what do you think?
I think we can wrap it up.
Yes, I agree. Let's stick to the schedule.
Okay. Cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Vlad and Tadas and Rosmari and Eric. I'm seeing more every time we come to these Eden Fractal meetings, and I like the progress we're making, helping communities and organizations of all sizes, and looking forward to, I suppose, next week we'll do the Upvote game again. If that sounds good to everybody, we can repropose it, or of course, anybody can propose anything else on Consortium as well. And very excited for this future that we are actualizing with Eden Fractal. Thanks so much. We're meeting every Wednesday at 16 UTC. To learn more at Eden Fractal, register and invite friends at lu.ma/Eden Fractal. If any of you has any last thoughts, then feel free. Otherwise, should we wrap it up with 3, 2, 1, go for Eden Fractal? Or what do you think? Or maybe go or help communities and organizations? I feel Tadas was, I think Vlad was happy with the go Eden Fractal. So how about we stick with that?
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Go
Eden Fractal. Woohoo! All right, thanks all.